Welcome back to part 2 of how to roll a henna cone. In this section, I'll be showing you how to fill your henna cones and your paint cones as well. Once you've rolled your henna cones, you'll prepare your paste by straining it through pantyhose or some other filter and putting it into a larger bag, pulling out the clumps and making for very smooth, silky paste. This is a process that I can detail in a different video if you would like to know more about this. But this is how you start when you're ready to fill your henna cones. Once the bag is filled, I tape it very securely at the top to make sure that when I am applying pressure to squeeze the henna out into cones, that the henna does not burst out the back end of the bag. And as I mentioned before, I like to prepare a few cones in advance, and here I'm just checking the tips and making sure that everything is well taped and tidy. Sometimes a little dust will get on the cones or the tips will get bent, so this is just me straightening and prepping them for filling. Once you've selected the cones you'll use, you'll want to make sure that the tip is nice and flat, so you'll snip it straight across. And make sure that there is an airflow. This will help when filling up the cones and help you keep bubbles out as well. I like to make sure that the tips are snipped on several before I begin, because filling these cones can be really messy, and this will save me some trouble as I can fill up multiple cones at a time, streamlining the process and reducing my mess. So I insert the tip of the very large carrot bag into one of the cones, and then I squeeze consistently, filling up the cone completely from tip to where my thumb is. I do try to leave some space at the top when I do this because I intend to fold down the top in order to tape it closed. If I don't leave that space at the top, it becomes very messy very quickly. So I continue the process of filling up as many cones as I can before taking a break, again to reduce the amount of mess that I make. I have found that if I put the bag down after each cone, it makes a lot more mess and it's harder to pick the cone back up without dripping paste everywhere. You can apply the same sort of process when you are filling up cones with paint, although I do tend to fill them up directly from the paint bottle itself rather than putting them into a carrot bag. So to close the cone, I'll lay a flat piece of tape across the top, overlapping the edge of the cone. I'll do this with a couple more pieces and then press it down to make sure that it's sealed and that no paint is seeping out of the top. Then I can apply pressure. Here you can see that with the tip unsnipped, I can't get the paint any further into the cone. So to alleviate that pressure and to fill the cone completely, I'm going to snip the tip, and this will allow airflow. And now I can squeeze the paint down to make a nice full cone. Once I've pushed the paint down a bit, I can fold the top over. I do this by folding alternately from each corner several times and then laying down the top and taping it securely with several pieces of tape. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do this in another video, but here's the general process of it. Once you have completely taped your paint cone, you can test the tip and the flow on a piece of paper towel or paper. If you are not getting enough flow, snip the tip a little bit more. I suggest that you snip very carefully and a small amount at a time, because if you oversnip, too much paint will come out and it becomes harder to control. Once I've got a good flow, I know that my tip is snipped enough. and I want to alternate pressure between thin lines and thick lines just to make sure that the cone is a good tool for me to use once I begin painting. As always, I like to run a few drills and test the consistency and the flow. And just like with the henna cones, I like to fill up multiple cones at a time before I begin creating. This reduces the amount of time spent making messes and cleaning up, and definitely will help you when you're in a creative flow. Join me for part 3, where I show you how to close your cones, and be on the lookout for other videos that help you with your henna and painting questions. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.